Hey folks, it's Matt once again, and welcome back to another review. And I wanted to do another review for this. Wasn't really a big fan of my original review that I did way back when, so I wanted to do another review of this film called Supernova from 2000, which this is actually released at Stream Factory, came out with recently. And first I want to thank a guy named, not sure if he wants his real name, but Manny Datillo had sent me this, which is very kind of him to do so. Because I only had this film on VHS. And I like the film alright as a time waster, but don't love the film. It's a time waster at best, has a shitload of problems, and that's mainly because of its production history. But I liked it as a time waster. Right off the bat, I can say why I like it, because I really like James Spader as an actor. My favorite film of his is Jack's Back, which I reviewed. It's a damn good movie. It's well worth your time. Did I review that? I think I did review Jack's Back. I think Jack's Back is a damn good movie. His best film. And I think James Spader's one of those actors. I look forward to him in the new Avengers movie. Hopefully he knocks out of the park. Hopefully they give him a lot to do and not just 5 minutes. Because you never know. But really like James Spader. I know he's in a new TV show, which I haven't seen because I just don't watch TV anymore. But I thought James Spader did a really good job in this. Angela Bassett I thought did fine, as did Lou Diamond Phillips and Robert Forster. I thought the effects looked fine. If you hear something, it's my stomach rumbling because it knows that I'm going to get a little bit ranty. Because even though I liked it as a time waster at best, a lot of people call this film boring, and this is one I can't defend the film on that. I can perfectly understand. Like, I can defend a low-budget film like Exterminator 2, which I reviewed recently. I like that film more than this. That's a film I can defend somewhat. I mean, it's a motherfucker flamethrowing motherfuckers. Marv Van Peebles' character named X. You know. But this one, it's not a whole lot to defend about. It's just I like it as a time waster, and I'm glad to have it in my collection because I like James Spader in the film. I wish he could have had do more films like this that are better. And to be honest, if you want to see a better version of this, watch Event Horizon. I love Event Horizon. That's a film I want to watch again one day and do a proper long review of because I love Event Horizon. Which came out, I think, before this. And to be honest, I know I'm repeating myself, that's a better movie than this. And in a way, the original idea for this movie was a movie that kind of what Event Horizon became. And this does have some features on it. Most of them are stuff from the old DVD, which I didn't have the DVD, so I'm fine. This has the deleted scenes, which you can find on YouTube as well, as a little alternate ending, which I think is on YouTube. And it's on the old DVD. Trailer. The only new thing is about a 25-minute feature with new interviews with Lou Diamond Phillips, Robert Forster, producer Daniel Chuba, Jack Sholder. Was there another guy on there? I think that's all there was to this. Again, before I get into the film, the 25 minutes were pretty. They talk about some of the production, like they mentioned how the original director was Walter Hill, and how Lou Diamond Phillips mentions about how there were too many cooks in the soup, in which like every day there would be rewrites, and how Walter Hill did the best that he could, but there was a lot of studio suits that were having him rewrite this and rewrite that, and how Walter Hill didn't want to show this film at a test screening because he felt there was more stuff to shoot. They did, and the effects weren't finished. They did it anyway, and they either fired Walter Hill, or Walter Hill said fuck it. And so they brought in Jack Sholder. And Jack Sholder says some comments about what doesn't work in the film, and he has a point on some of the stuff. Like he said that Wilson Cruz didn't really fit was a bit of miscasting. And there's a couple other stuff he mentions. That he had done a re-edit of the film, and then they had put Francis Ford Coppola, who did a re-edit of the film, and then the film came out. And then there's some props to the cinematography, there's some props to the effects. And that's why it was directed by Thomas Lee, which is pretty much like an Alan Smithee. No director wanted credit. Although technically it was 3 directors. Either directing the film or re-editing the film. And I will say overall, I think Scream Factory dropped the ball on this release. What I mean by that is it's 25 minutes long and like 5 minutes. If you take out the 5-6 minutes of footage from the movie, you get less than 20 minutes of people talking, which there's a lot of more interesting bits of story to this. In fact, there's books like this, which have chapters about Supernova, which I won't read the whole thing, but I'll mention a couple. Maybe at the end of this I'll mention a couple. But, I mean, getting to the film itself is pretty much this medical vessel, the Nightingale. Robert Forster is the captain. James Spader is a co-pilot. You have Angela Bassett, who's sort of the main doctor. Her helpers are like Lou Diamond Phillips and Robin Tunney, which all they have is that they like to fuck each other. And Wilson Cruz, he's the guy who has a fixation, sort of a, seems like the AI who's a female voice kind of likes Wilson Cruz. Wants him to play chess with her. And like the first time you see Lou Diamond Phillips and Robert Tunney is a sex scene. And the only reason this is R-rated is a couple little bits of nudity. Like, to be honest, it's rated R, but it feels like a weak R rating. It really does. Like, to be honest, when it first came out, I think it was PG-13, and then they added just a teeny bit of stuff for an R rating, and it's really not much to it, to be honest, for an R rating. Like, between a PG-13 and R rating, it's just like little bits of nudity. That's not much to it. But I like James Spader. The reason I like him in the role, he's an ex-military pilot. He's a no bullshit guy. He's a no shit guy. He tells you straightforward. He's a guy that you will like as a captain. He's a strong guy, but he has a cool level head. And I just really like James Spader. I wish he could have been in a better... I wish this movie would have been a better... His role, to be honest, is too good for this movie. In my opinion, I liked his role so much. It's too good for the movie. I wish he was in a better movie. Like if you had a good version of Lockout, and you had James Spader. Of course, Guy Pearce was not the problem. He was the only good thing in Lockout. So, because that's another shitty movie, which had a good lead. But I like this a little bit. I like this a bit more in Lockout because I don't know. I thought this. It's not horrendous. It's just meh. A lot of the stuff throughout the film is meh. That's why I can understand why a lot of people call this boring. And at times I felt bored. I know people are like, well, why aren't you ranting on it? Because it doesn't make me mad. It's just... It's disappointing what could have been. And I watch it, go, okay, I don't mind the cast. I don't mind some of the effects and the sets and stuff. And but you just could tell it could have been a whole lot better. And like I said, they did an emergency call, and they're going to do this dimension jump, and Robert Forster gets fucked up in his face, and like his body's been fused with the glass of the tube he was in, because there was a hole in his chamber when they dimension jumped, and Angela Bassett and them tried to save him, and Robert Forster's like, kill me. Which ultimately, that's what happens. At the same time, James Spader is saving the ship because they've gone to the debris of this moon where this distress call was called from. Like it says there, gravitational pull of a dying star. The disabled ship rescues a shuttlecraft containing a mysterious survivor and a strange alien artifact. And it's true, because the guy, the voice or whatever the message had said there was this guy named Carl who Angela Bassett knew. But then when they find him, it's a young guy, and she's like, which is Peter Facinelli's the guy they find, and she's like, well, that's not him. There's no way that's him. And the guy says, well, I'm Carl's son. And not much happens for a while. It's pretty much James Spader has to figure out, okay, we need fuel. I need to go down the surface. Before that happens, tells Lou Diamond Phillips to look on Peter Facinelli's ship. They find this alien artifact, which is like this purple, like, think of a crystal, or this purple light in a little tube. What the hell is that thing when you hit and electricity hits your fingers? It kind of reminds me a little bit of that. Oh, no, I take that back. It reminds me a bit of a lava lamp. Think of a big lava lamp. Scratch the electricity thing. Imagine a lava lamp. Like a lava lamp, but it's, you know, CGI, like mist sort of energy. And even on the making of, they mention, I think the producer mentions how, like, Walter Hill didn't want to have a lot of dialogue. He wanted just people to do stuff. And he mentions how Walter Hill originally wanted a different, trippy, psychedelic, altered states type of movie. But then the studios wanted more of a conventional film, and so you had lots of exposition dialogue, which even the producer complains about, and I agree. It's like expositional dialogue of Peter Facinelli with Robert Tunney, and then all of a sudden, it's like in 5 seconds, Robert Tunney falls in love with Peter Facinelli or lusts after him after like 10 seconds of seeing his naked ass. And they have sex. There's a scene where James Spader and Angela Bassett, they talk a little bit over brandy, and then you see this zero gravity scene with Angela Bassett and James Spader having sex. Of course, you look at the making of, and I knew this beforehand, before the making of, that's not actually Angela Bassett and James Spader supposed to be, but what they did was they took a love scene with Peter Facinelli and Robin Tunney, and they darkened Robin Tunney's skin, and they used CG to make it look like James Spader and Angela Bassett to give more of a relationship between James Spader and Angela Bassett. Which, to be honest, is kind of stupid, because first off, Angela Bassett, her character doesn't seem like the type who would jump in bed that quickly when you watch her in the film. And then at the end, when they both have to share this tank, a tube, I should say, because they're going to do a dimensional jump and all the other are broken, you see that they seem kind of nervous with each other, and like bits of dialogue as if they had never had sex before, and like they had never been together naked before. That made sense because in the script, or the way they shot it, they never did have sex before. It was after re-edits, so let's re-edit, okay, those two people, let's change it to these two people with CG. And it doesn't make sense. That's what I mean. There's a lot of problems in production. You could tell that there's shit that's just like, well, wait a minute. They didn't go through with that. Wait a minute. Why would James Spader and Angela Bassett at the end seem nervous, naked together, sharing this tube that they have to survive, if they've had sex in the first 20 minutes of the movie, within the first 20 minutes? Or Lou Diamond Phillips, his character really has nothing to do. I could tell that, I think there was more to Lou Diamond Phillips' character, because the thing with the artifacts that when you touch it, it makes you stronger and younger, which is what Peter Facinelli, you find out that he really is Carl, the guy that Angela Bassett knew, but this gave him a power not only to heal himself, but become younger and stronger. But that was supposed to be happening with William Phillips as well. And he was supposed to like turn this big, this adult version of a fetus. And the best way to describe it, I know I'm jumping ahead, but the Patrick Tatopoulos who worked on effects, I guess the studio did not want a full-blown makeup effects film. The studio tried to make it more of a hip, sexy movie in space, while Walter Hill wanted to do something more grotesque, strange, and ultimately disturbing. Which, that's too bad. That really is too bad. And all the tinkering, it just became a very white bread movie. Maybe I should title this a review / rant, because I'm doing a lot of ranting, but it's a review / rant, not altogether rant, because I liked it as a time wizard, because I like James Spader's role. It didn't make me mad. It didn't piss me off. I liked the cast for the most part. I mean, I didn't care for Wilson Cruz either. I think that character originally was going to be played by Vincent D'Onofrio when another director was a part of it, which I'll get into when I talk a little bit of the backstory in this book. But I like Lou Diamond Phillips, Robert Forster, but that cast deserved a better movie. Maybe Walter Hill's version was a better movie. Like, this is a film that's hard to defend, but at the same time, it didn't make me mad. So I'm watching like, okay, cool, James Spader is a badass, cool. Give him a little bit more to do, please. But it's not a film I can defend, and I'm not going to defend. It was there. But the thing is, it didn't have to be there. I mean, pretty much in the middle, it's, other than the stuff I talked about, you find out that the thing is really a bomb. Create this massive, like, supernova to destroy the universe. And James Spader goes down to get some fuel. The bad guy, Peter Facinelli, fucks him over. He escapes. The guy remote controls the ship so that he's stranded there. Almost gets blasted with fire. As these vehicles are chasing him, James Spader gets out of there. There's some deleted scenes which, if you see in the trailer, you see James Spader looking at this thing that looks like a big fetus. Like a big adult-sized fetus. And in the trailer, it goes, help me. But then the deleted scene's like, help me. Which, it sounded better in the trailer. If you watch the trailer where it's just going, help me. That sounded better than something going, help me. But it didn't matter because it was on the fucking deleted scenes anyway. It got cut out anyway. And like there's this stupid robot that they have. They have this like fly. It's called Flyboy. It has this like World War II get up on. It's like their helper robot. And that was a stupid thing. Probably a studio thing. Because they actually mention in this book a little bit about that. And pretty much, Peter Facinelli, one thing that I agree with Jack Sholder is he mentions how, like, what made a film like Alien work is that the alien is a great villain. You could be steered by the alien. But Peter Facinelli is not really an intimidating guy. He's an okay actor, but he's not an intimidating guy. He's not a scary guy. He's not a anything guy. He's just, it's Peter Facinelli, and okay. That's pretty much it. And again, there's more to it, which I'll get into when I talk about the making of this. For example, he was going to be, if I can find it, the full-blown stage of the alien creature was shot but never shown in the final cut, says Patrick Tatopoulos. Troy, the character played by Peter Facinelli, was originally intended to transform into a grotesque being, losing its humanity as it became a hairless, sleek-skinned, blue-veined, and red-eyed creature. The monster was working real well when we shot it, but the studio turned around and said, "We don't recognize the actor and we don't want to go there." This was after designs were done and approved by everyone. People would have loved our final stage of the creature. When it was taken out of the movie, it did not make sense. And a little bit more. MGM had only just begun remaking the movie in its own preferred image. Out went a complex effect sequence in which James Spader performs a nail-biting zero-gravity rescue inside a giant bubble of water. Interesting. Out too went a sophisticated remotely operated medical robot in favor of a shuffling humanoid android dressed in a flying costume, and described as one credit as a cross between Crichton and Red Dwarf and Woody Allen's Sleeper. So instead of a sophisticated remotely operated medical robot, you have that stupid shuffling android, humanoid android thing that looks stupid. By the way, all that is not in the making of. It's in this book, though. That's what I'm talking about. I thought Shout Factory dropped the ball with that. Just there's a lot more stuff. Like, I'll get back into the film, but some of the stuff. Like, this originally was called Dead Star. That William Malone thought up of this. Sort of either a Dead Calm in space or a Hellraiser in space. Had this idea to take the movie Dead Calm and make it a sci-fi picture. But then one of the things the crew pick up is a portal to death, which is a place that you actually go to. And it's actually a sophisticated alien machine known as the Thanatron. It was capable of reanimating the living and opening a gate to the world of the dead, specifically hell. And they unwittingly released Satan aboard their ship. Kind of reminds me of that 90s film Dark Side of the Moon, which you kind of had the devil on a ship. And the thing is, William Malone got H.R. Giger to do pre-production sketches. You know, Hellraiser in space. Giger was going to design the devil, and he came up with some brilliant sketches. H.R. Giger was going to design the Shard and multi-faced Satan with his cloak of living souls. But nobody stepped up to the plate to make it. And then United Artists bought it. They brought writers in to rewrite and rewrite and draft after draft. Then the guy who did Romper Stomper was going to do it. Jeffrey Wright. And that's when Vincent D'Onofrio was going to do it, playing that Wilson Cruz character. He had problems with the studio. And then they got Walter Hill. And then, yeah, a lot of Walter Hill started making it. Then there was a lot of tinkering, a lot of, nope, you can't do this, you can't do that. And so on and so forth, which is too bad. And again, all that, pretty much most of that stuff is not the H.R. Giger and all that. Nope. Nowhere in the making of. That'd be interesting to hear that, it was called Dead Star and this and that. Again, I'm thinking that the studio saw the Event Horizon flopped and they said, no, don't make it different. They don't say that. Event Horizon is never mentioned. You would think it would. But that was a big budget film from another studio that did not do well in 97, I believe. Although I think that's a damn good movie, much better than this. But I do think, I like James Spader in the film. I didn't watch for James Spader. When he pretty much likes to Peter Facinelli's cleaning house. And very quickly, too, he puts Robert Tunney in an airlock, jettisons her out. There's Lou Diamond Phillips, who hits him like once or twice. And I didn't, all the tinkering, you think he would have sort of a character arc. Like, okay, he's touching this, he's getting younger and stronger. Doesn't matter. Didn't do him any good in this. And if his original death scene, which I read that online, that's not in here, that Lou Diamond Phillips' original death scene was going to be he got turned into that. No, Peter Facinelli just come up and does this. And in the deleted scene, apparently he punched a hole, and you see like a crappy CGI with like Lou Diamond Phillips' eye hanging out as he's jettisoned. But no, just does this, and there's Lou Diamond Phillips' face, normal, and he just jettisoned out into space. Just lame. Angela Bassett and the other guys dealing with him, and pretty much cat and mouse, throws Wilson Cruz, he dies. Peter won't help him. But I like James Spader. I like that, he calls Peter Facinelli, and this is a badass moment where he's like, were you actually born so stupid? I'm coming for you, Carl. Like, I think that's why I can watch this as a time waster. I'm such a big fan of James Spader. I like seeing him in this. And he's the main reason why I liked it as a time waster. I mean, it's weird. Lockout with Guy Pearce, I should like it for the same reason, but I don't know. Just Lockout, I think because Lockout, I was just so disappointed in it that it pissed me off more. But this, when I first saw it, I knew what I was getting myself into, so I'm like, oh my god. So I think that's why. But he tricks Peter Facinelli's ass to make him shoot this one, which is he's not in the suit. And he has like a claw. He has like these devices on his hand. One's like, they're both like a claw. And try to fuck him up and actually cut an arm off. And again, even the ending is not much to it. They pretty much, a little bit of James Spader getting thrown out. Angela Bassett does a little bit of stuff. Hits him in the back. James Spader grabs the things again. Traps him in this place. They get that humanoid android to deliver this bomb. Blow him up. All the other tubes have been fucked up, so they get in there. They do a dimensional jump. They have this stupid line where it's like, oh, in 50 years, either the Earth will be destroyed because this thing blew up and the artifact was blown up and it'll reach Earth. Either it will pretty much either kill you all or it'll make you better. In the original ending, it was just, you're fucked in 250 years. That's when the star reach Earth. And I just hear at least there's a question mark of hope. I would just cut the whole fucking thing out altogether, but I'm like, whatever. And that now, because of dimensional jump and they're in the same place, they each have one eye is theirs color-wise, and the other is a color of the opposite. And then Angela Bassett has a baby, and it almost sounds like it was dubbed in there or something. I mean, this has a shitload of problems. And I haven't even given that much positive notes. So really, I guess it should be a rant, but watching it, I like most of the cast. The effects, I think, look fine enough for the year 2000. The sets and the costumes are alright. I really like James Spader. But this could have been a whole hell of a lot better. Hell, put James Spader in Dark Side of the Moon. Actually, I don't mind that guy in Dark Side of the Moon. Hell, if you put... Do I like that movie? I would probably have to say that's a better movie than this. The Dark Side of the Moon. The Dark Side of the Moon, I would have to say, I'm not a fan of the ending of Dark Side of the Moon, but I'd probably say it's a little bit better than this movie. I know this is sort of a long, drawn-out review, but... a lot of interesting backstory. I thought they just skimmed the surface on the making of, which I think, I do feel Scream Factory dropped the ball. I think there's a lot of nuggets of information could have gotten out of. Or all that deleted stuff that was shot, like Walter Hill's original cut. See that footage? Like, if that creature stuff was shot, what happened to it? Is it in a vault somewhere? I know there's a lot of pictures out there of, you know, stuff that was deleted, but it's too bad. I do feel Scream Factory dropped the ball on this. If you don't release it on Blu-ray in the first place, could have put a little bit more into it. That's just my opinion. And the film itself, it does have a shitload of problems. It's not really an eventful film. I mean, really, at the end of the day, what happens? They do a dimensional jump. They find a guy. There's an alien artifact. Bad guy gets into Robert Tunney's pants. James Spader gets on the surface and gets fucked over, left behind stranded. Pierre Facinelli kills Robert Tunney, Lieutenant Phillips, and Wilson Cruz. James Spader is a badass, comes back. Him and Angela Bassett fuck him up pretty easily. In less than 2 minutes. They leave. They have a humanoid with a bomb, blow it up. They get in dimensional jump. Angela Bassett has a baby. Movie ends. Not really a lot of action. No horror. No suspense. Not much excitement or thrills. That's what I mean. It's a piece of white bread. It's not even toast. It's just white bread. You know, what you don't do with white bread. You like to toast it. Or maybe put some cheese or some ham or make a sandwich, a burger, something. But this is like a piece of white bread. So as a time waster, I can deal with the effects. I like James Spader and I like him as an actor. I like him in this no-nonsense bullshit role. Like when Peter Facinelli is trying to tempt him about this alien artifact, and he's not having it. He's not having it. He's like, hey, we came here, we risked our lives. I'm not risking their lives anymore. When I'm going to get the fuel, you don't jettison that shit out. You didn't say shit, but you don't jettison that out of there, and that's the way it goes. So James Spader is actually being the smart guy. He's a smart guy. He's a no bullshit guy. You hear a little bit about how he worked hard to get in shape. He looked the part. James Spader is the man. I'm a big James Spader fan. He didn't get to do many roles like this. A lot of roles that he did was like little villainous characters, or I mean, he was a scientist in Stargate, but this is like the only time he really like this and Jack's Back, at least the tough brother, is really the only two that he got to play like a tough sort of heroic type of character, which is a shame. Because I think he's a damn good actor. I would love to have seen him in more roles like this. I would love to have seen him in maybe an action movie role as the hero, or another sci-fi horror movie that's a better movie than this, or I'm trying to think of a movie off the top of my head, but yeah, I'm just gonna stop now because I'm just gonna keep repeating shit. But I would like to have seen what Walter Hill's original version would have been without the studio fucking with him. I really feel that. I think the studio fucked with him, and it made for a product that was that. It was a product. And it was a product that was a very white bread, no taste. And that's what I mean by white bread. It's a meh, really no taste to it. You know, it's a plain cracker. There's no atmosphere, there's no in one ear out the other kind of movie. And that's why I deleted my old review, because I'm a little bit positive. When I have my reviews on here, and when you watch them, I want you to know that's what I feel about the movie to this day. If my opinion changes on it, I don't hate the film, but I just, as a time waster, I think I even said in that it was a time waster. But I'll probably have even a little bit more anger to it than I did before. It's just because there's not much to recommend other than if you're a big fan of James Spader, it's worth a look. But Lou Diamond Phillips, he doesn't have much to do. Robert Forster's not in it that much, and as a time waster, it's there. But yeah, I mean, I can defend stuff like Exterminator 2, which I reviewed. I can't defend this. And there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, and they made for a product that was just like Event Horizon has an atmosphere to it. Event Horizon has a lot more going for it than this. Not that horror aspect. It's definitely rated R with a purpose. The only problem I have with Event Horizon is the ending. That's the only problem I have with it. But the rest of the movie I really liked and enjoyed. But either way, that's my review of Supernova. Thanks for watching. Take care. And we'll see you in the next video. Later.